when I first got diagnosed, even before I began chemo, in prayer, God already revealed to me that cancer, he told me exactly these words: cancer will be the best thing that ever happened to you. In about 2008, I realized that I was getting like a bump. It was like several, but one started on my nose and the other one started on my chest. And they started getting bigger, and I thought it was just some, type of acne or something like that. So I started going to dermatologists, and every dermatologist I went to, they were giving me different diagnoses, different medications. So I started taking steroids and other medications, but the thing just kept getting, the mass just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger on my nose and on my chest. So then I finally went to a dermatologist down here in Miami. He referred me to one in the Orlando area, Daytona area. I went to him. He said there's nothing I could do. I don't know exactly what it is. So after about 5 years going to dermatologists and the mass getting bigger, I was just at a real depressed state. I didn't want to go out anywhere. I didn't want to do anything. One of my line sisters got married. I didn't go to the wedding because I just didn't want anybody to see me. Birthday parties, everything I was missing during that time.
She was like, she's just so frustrated. Her issue, she said it was her skin. That, her skin was not looking great, and then her nose was getting bigger and bigger, and she didn't understand why. And she said that she was considering plastic surgery. So I was like, before you go down that route, you might want, I was asking her what doctors have she seen already. And she was telling me her dermatologist diagnosed her rosacea. And I was like, well, maybe you should get another opinion.
So when I went to a plastic surgeon, I prayed about it. I prayed to God to just lead me to the right person. And I chose randomly a plastic surgeon. His name is Dr.Bustillo, and he's in Coral Gables. And I went to his office, and I remember being at his office, and he came in and he was like, what's going on? And I was like, I've been traveling to the doctors for 5 years now, and nobody could tell me what's going on, so my last resort is just, to just have plastic surgery. And he was like, and then I just started crying. He was like, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm just so depressed about this situation. It's one thing to know what's going on, but it's frustrating when you don't know. So he, and it was so amazing because he held my hands and he said, I'm gonna do my best to try to help you figure out what's going on. And at that point, he did a biopsy for me, and he did it completely free. And in about 2 weeks, I was calling his office and stuff like that. He wasn't returning the calls, and then he finally called me back, and he said, something's wrong, but I want to be sure, so I need to do another biopsy. And I was like, okay. So I came back in, and he did another biopsy on my nose. And after that, a couple of days passed. I didn't get a call from him, so I called the office, and I was like, did Dr. Bustillo get the results? And they said, he wants to speak to you personally. He'll give you a call. And during that same time, my uncle passed away, and me and my mom were traveling to Chicago to go to his funeral. He passed away with stomach cancer. And we were at the airport, sitting down, waiting for our plane to board, and Dr. Bustillo's office called me, and I answered the phone, and he was on the line, and he was like, Eraine, I need you to come in right away. I'm finally perfectly sure, what's going on with you. And I was like, Dr. Bustillo, I can't. I'm on my way to my uncle's funeral. I really need you to tell me over the phone because I can't wait any longer to know what this is. So he was like, okay. And I walked away from my mom, and I started walking to the bathroom, and he said, you have something called Non Hodgkins Lymphoma. And as a nurse, I knew that was a cancer, but it didn't process. And I was like, Dr. Bustillo, isn't that a type of cancer? And he said, yeah, it is a type of cancer. And I do have, it's at the stage 4, so you need to, take care of it really quickly. And I remember standing at the stall, inside one of the stalls, just bawling out, crying, figuring out, like, what am I going to do? I can't tell my mom because of what's going on with her, losing her older brother. And I just didn't know where to go, So I just cried, and I was just lost at that point. Then after that, I went to where my sister was working at the time, and she found out there was an oncologist there, Dr. Losos, which is one of the best in that field. And I went to see him, and when I went to see him, he did more CT scans and PET scans, and found out that it had already spread to my liver, and I had 2 masses in my liver also.
Ça te fait mal. Ça te fait mal parce que je suis un peu jeune. C'est le dernier petit moi. Et puis qu'on y a passé moi qui ravage cancer a fait sur l'autre monde. Et puis ça te fait qu'un triste. Mais malgré ça te fait triste, même toujours été dans la foi, toujours été ferme, pas de crier. Non. Pas de crier. Là, oui, j'étais un frère qui était mort avec cancer, même là. Même là, nous étions Chicago, c'est un enterrement frère, nous allons, qui était mort avec cancer. Et puis c'est là, il était relé, il recevoir nouvelle là, mais pas dire ça. C'est juste là, nous venons, pendant nous enterrement à Chicago, il pas dire ça. C'est là, nous venons à Miami, avant de dire comme ça. Le docteur a été relé, il dit comme ça, son tumeur gagne en est.
The minute I found out, I broke down. I was trying my best to be strong, but I couldn't be strong because working at the cancer center, I already know the prognosis of her diagnosis. So with that background, it was just like, you don't wish that on anybody, not even your worst enemy.
I remember just like crying. And then she was like, don't cry. She can't see us cry. We have to be strong. She wouldn't want us crying for her. And then I just stopped crying.
I was in disbelief. And I think throughout the whole time, I don't know if I ever really accept it. And maybe it's because I felt like if I don't accept it, it's not good. It's not real. If I don't really believe that she's going through it, then she's not really going through it. So I think I was in denial. And I think through the whole time, I don't know if it ever hit me that she had cancer. To me, it was like, this can't be. No.
My thought was, okay, she can always fight it. That, she can go through her chemotherapy, she can fight it. But my thoughts were always, okay, what if it comes back? And that's what I always kept thinking about. So, that's a good question.
I had several people, as soon as they walked through the door of my house, and they just start crying, and I'm looking at them like, yeah. Or, as soon as I see them somewhere and they start crying, and I'm looking like, you don't have to cry. And I'm basically consoling them like, it's going to be all right. It's fine. I thought it was punishment. First, because I just thought, why me? Like, what did I do to deserve getting cancer? Like, I just thought, it's something that I must have done. You understand? And also, I feel like my walk with Christ wasn't strong at that point. I feel like I was still in the world and in Christ, in the world and in Christ. So I felt like God was punishing me for not walking fully with Him. My relationship with God grew during that season, and I just began to realize that God is a loving God. He's faithful, He's righteous, He's pure. Everything He does for us is for our good. And no matter how much we sin or no matter how far we get away from Him, it's not like He will try to punish us, We live in a world of sin. We live in a world that's going to have sickness. We live in a world that's going to have death. We live in a world that's going to have crime and stuff like that because of the sin that was brought into the world. But God is still good, and He's still holy, and He's still loving.
One of the things that me and her, the conversation we had afterwards was just like, this is going to be your own story. This is going to be your own testimony. Nobody, you're not going to be my little sister or Gigi little sister. This was going to identify you as an individual person. So you decide what you want to be identified as. And that was, after I did all my boo crying, I was able to.
We discussed her journey. Sometimes I know she's the type that will like bottle things up and, and portray that, she's happy and deep down inside something's bothering her.
I think that was throughout the whole process, that was her whole thing. Like, she literally was the one trying to keep everybody together, even though she was the one going through it, because we all was just like, I don't know, we just was all in awe. And then she knew that she had to keep us together. So she had to be the strong one. Wow. She needed us to be strong. We couldn't be strong, so she just became the strong person for all of us.
I just don't like sympathy like that. So I really didn't like it. So I just try to lighten up the mood and try to talk about different things because I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me.
There was some days where she didn't feel like getting up or she didn't feel like doing anything. And, everybody would call me, I'm the gushy one, the crybaby, but at the same time, I'm like the not taking no for an answer type of person. So even when we had a bad day where she, chemo just said, I feel like I've been hit by a truck. Okay, I understand. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Take your 5 minutes, enjoy it, now get up.
I'm not gonna baby you because you're going through this. She'd be like, oh my God, I'm dealing with cancer. You tell me go do this, go do that. I'm like, yeah, you still have to do those things. It doesn't change anything. Because I'll tell her, go run this errand, go do this. And she was like, I'm the sick one. I'm like, I know, but So I think we just kept our same routine, and that really helped her get through it. I think helped me get through it. The fact that nothing changed. Because I think if we change our whole day-to-day conversations, then it probably would affect me a little differently, or would affect her.
If I knew she was pissed off at me, I would make her a grilled cheese sandwich, and that would smooth things out with a grilled cheese sandwich. So I made a lot of grilled cheese sandwiches.
I don't think we ever, personally, me and her, had conversations where we talked about her going through cancer in a sad way. I would call her, she'd be like, oh, I'm at the hospital, I'm getting my chemo. I'm like, oh, hurry up, call me back.
One of the things she did tell us when she was diagnosed, I want you guys to treat me regular, like I don't have cancer. And we were like, okay, no problem. So we would always, carry on like usual, make jokes all the time because we're always laughing. So we were always, clown around, make jokes. And we never really brought up the topic unless she wanted to bring it up.
Like I told her, having the background, that helped a lot. And having the numbers, there's a 6% chance of fighting this, a 6% chance of coming out on top. The number one thing you have to do, you have to beat those other 94 patients to be under 6% of the people that come on top. So whatever you need to do, suck it up, get it done. Let's do it, because you're going to be the top 6%. That's it.
I remember one time she was telling me how with the chemotherapy, like her hands and her feet would get darker. So she sometimes would be embarrassed to wear sandals or something like that because her feet are now dark, or her hands are darker.
Because what chemotherapy does is it kills all the cells in your body so your body can produce good cells, because they really can't differentiate between the cancer cells and the good cells. So it just starts to kill off everything. That's why you lose all your hair, you lose your eyebrows, your skin complexion. My skin complexion was really, really dark at the time.
She was losing a lot of weight. I mean, one day I called her. She was telling me that, she was in bed and she was not feeling good, vomiting a lot. We used to work at the same job, so missing days a lot sometimes.
Knowing that she had to go through chemotherapy, that she was going to lose her hair. And one of the things that I knew was talking to different patients. The most drastic thing is waking up in the morning and having clumps of your hair on your pillow. So, and it's very depressing. So knowing that, I was like, okay, you know what? I don't want you to get that depressed about hair. let's go and get your hair cut off. Irene's sitting at the barber chair, and I'm sitting on the side, and he's getting everything prepped, ready to go. And you know how you could look at somebody's face and you realize they are having, like, this is a very traumatic experience that they're gonna have right now. And she just began to, the tears started building up, and I could see them in her eyes, and I was just like, okay, I need to do something, because we're not gonna have a meltdown right now in the barbershop. So I asked the barber, you have a scissors? So yeah, I have one right there. So I was like, oh, okay. So I just went and started chopping off my dreads, and I was like, here, you want to cry about hair? Here's some hair. She was like, oh, you cut your hair off. She couldn't believe, but by the time I gave it to her, I had already cut off all my dreads. So I just chopped them off. When Gigi walked in the barbershop, she was like, oh no, I'm not gonna cut off my hair.
I was like, well, I love you. I'm going to have to support in other ways, but I just don't have the head to support in that.
But Irene was, at that point, she was just like, there's no reason for me to cry because you cut off your hair. And I was like, okay, we ain't gonna, it's small. Let's move on. So
I think that day, I mean, it was amazing. Just the fact that Guensine getting in that chair and shaving her head. I mean, I couldn't believe she did it. But we laugh about it because she didn't tell me she was going to do it. She didn't tell Irene she was going to do it. So it was totally unexpected. But again, I think at that point, that's Guensine. She'll do something crazy like that. But it was one of those things I think that really helped Irene to get through that day.
That losing her hair identified that everybody going to know, what's going on. Like, now it's going to be a public announcement that I have cancer. So it's just like, okay, you know what? We'll make a public statement. We both have bald head. So don't worry about it.
As far as the hair, I mean, I was like, we could wear wigs, So her hair, she really didn't complain much about. I remember one day she came over and she was, feeling kind of down or whatever. So I was like, let's do a makeover,
Top model.
So I did her makeup. I made her try on some of my wigs. We took some of my clothes and we did like a photo shoot in the house.
The first chemo, that day, I was nervous and scared. My mom was there with me, my sister, my boyfriend, and I went in there and they put me, get in a hospital gown and put the IVs in. And as I lay on the bed, the chemo drugs started, to infuse into my body. But as soon as they started to infuse, like, my body just started, like, it felt like it was catching on fire.
On dedans nous dans chambre d'avec. Là puis nous comme ça, li senti li chaud, on dedans chaud. Qu'on y a même pas qu'à comprendre.
And after that, I saw, like, my arms were swelling up. And at the time, I didn't know, but my mom and my boyfriend was telling me that my face started swelling up, like, huge. My neck, like, everywhere. And then I felt, like, palpitations. And my heart was speeding. And I felt like I couldn't breathe.
Et ça qu'on y a l'elle vinn passe à out avant Lucien relé ou miss, dem s'en vini que courir les cordouettes. Oh, là au vini. Oh, li te balampi.
I mean, the reaction was bad. It was like near death because no one understood what was going on at the time. So when that happened, she kept asking us, how bad do I look? How bad do I look? She looked bad. I mean, like, her face was like blowing up.
So when I woke up, when I kind of was alert, all I seen was, like, there was respiratory therapy. There was at least 20, 30 people. I mean, not about 10 people in the room. Like respiratory therapists and doctors and stuff like that. And one of the physicians was next to me and she was asking me how I'm feeling, what's going on. And I was telling her, my heart is speeding, I can't breathe, and things like that. And then she was like, okay, we're giving you another drug to stabilize it. We're taking off the chemo because your body just had an anaphylactic reaction, which is a really bad reaction to a drug that can kill you. So that night I went home, and I just was having really bad stomach pains. It was just, it's something that I couldn't really describe, but it was so much pain. And I remember just laying in bed crying. And I was like, God, if I'm gonna have to live throughout this pain like over and over again, just take my life now. I was to the point where, I would rather die than continue to go through like the pain of the medication and the pain of just, even before I was diagnosed, just being so depressed and without hope of not knowing what I had, and just was living with it. As I was laying there, it felt like the Holy Spirit just came and just wrapped his arms around me. And that's when I was saying that I grew a relationship with Christ during cancer, is because like I started knowing him as a friend, as a comforter, as someone I can go to. And his presence was just around me, and I felt like a sense of peace, and it's like the pain was bearable.
And again, it's not praying that she was praying that I'm gonna be okay. It was like, God, this is your will. Whatever happens, I'm gonna be okay. So I don't think she looked at it as God's gonna heal me. It was that God's putting me through this for a purpose. So I think whatever direction it went, she was okay. She was okay with it. At the end of the day, she knew it was God's plan. If there was a bigger purpose behind it.
God uses medicine and stuff like that, but he also heals people miraculously.
Yo te bali médicament, yo te prend 6 chemo. Après ça, tombe dans la prière avec l'aide d'Éternel. Bon Dieu fait, li guéri. Nous just well guéri. Nous pas dire c'est l'homme qui fait, c'est pas nous just garder nous elle fait comme ça. Nous bénis non bon Dieu, nous dit bon Dieu merci.
After that, I still had 3 more cycles of chemo to go through, but I went to Ryan Bunke event, and at the end of the event, he has a time of praying for healing. And when they started praying for healing, my sister went down because she had an ear issue. My stomach area, exactly where my liver is located, because I looked it up, like where my liver is located, exactly where my liver is located, started burning. Like it was just like on fire. And I was holding my stomach the whole time he was praying, and it was just burning. And after that, I was like, Guensine, after the event, when we were heading home, I was like, when he started praying for healing, my stomach was on fire and burning. And I don't know why. And I honestly didn't think much of it after that. But then, for some reason, Dr. Losos wanted to do another CT scan and a PET scan. So I ended up doing another one. And when he did the other one, the tumor mass was completely gone. Like the report came back and said no signs of it. And even though Dr. Losa said you have to continue the cycles, he want me to just finish up the cycles. But he was like, there's no more, you're in complete remission, but I just want you to finish up the cycles. So I end up finishing up the cycles, but I realized that even then that God already had healed me completely, even before finishing up the chemo cycles.
Ça fait tout c'est bon Dieu qui fait. Parce que quand pile monde qui te gen cancer, même cancer avec surtout cancer dans foie, en pile monde qui fait cancer ça, yo pas réussi, yo pas traité. Gen pile l'autre qui te gen cancer tout même l'aile te gen l'autre ami qui te fait cancer ensemble avec lui, te kon vinn well là, te kon venir ensemble. Ya ensemble yo tout te gen cancer, tout cheveux yo raché dans chimo ensemble. Tout ça yo mourir, l'autre monde yo mourir. Mais lui même bon Dieu fait nous grâce. Mais là, chaque fois là le docteur dit cancer a fui. Ouais, c'est pas l'homme qui fait ça, c'est l'Éternel. C'est bon Dieu même qui fait ça pour nous.
After the whole chemotherapy and her treatments, and her follow-up appointments, and they would tell her, she would always say, okay, she's cleared, she's good, And I would always be like, "Whew, okay, thank God," you know.
I thought about it daily, and I was like, but I don't think I ever had a feeling that she wouldn't get through it. I never like pictured her not getting through it. It was like every day, okay. Even if she was going through chemo, even if she had her doctor's appointment, I was like, okay, she's gonna call me with good news when she's done. So that was just my mentality.
Toute famille là était toujours campé ferme. Et m'tande yo dit cancer kon fin traité après ça yo retourné, mais ça cancer était sur renal pas retourner encore. Là net.
Say because of this journey she has been through, like she is like, you can say a spokeswoman, you know. She goes out, she shares her testimony, people that's going through cancer as well. She's there with them, praying with them, sharing her testimony with them so they can be uplifted as well. So she keeps that positive vibe. So other person that's experiencing maybe not lymphoma but another form of cancer, that they see that, oh my goodness, like, you know, if she can go through this and she's in such good spirits, always happy, then I can do the same. So
her spiritual walk, I mean, you know, that definitely has, major change. I think God took her, if she was at a level 3 to a level 10, just going through that, her faith in God, just her knowing that, you know, even when the Bible says just praise through everything, you know, you don't really believe that. You're like, you can't praise on your sorrows. That's just not even, that doesn't even make sense.
Being in that life-changing situation really showed her that, like, you know, what she was doing before might not have even been enough, even though she was already doing enough. So it just took her to another level where she just wanted to explore, I guess, different avenues and different ways to help people. You know, she went from just being a member at the church to being an active member at the church. She went from, you know, helping people at health clinics like throughout the city of Miami, but then she took that abroad. Like she went to Africa and helped out young kids. So, you know, things like that, I noticed the change in her. I noticed, you know, how even now health-wise, she takes a different approach.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
She is on her workout tip like crazy, and she's always encouraging everybody around her. So it's like a domino effect. If whatever she's going through, like her spiritual change, she wants everybody around her saying.
2, 3, 4. I prayed to God for healing, but at the same time, I asked God, show me, give me wisdom and insight on what to do. CCC Fit is a workout group that's based at Community Christian Church, led by, Guelmose. But it was a workout group that also did a lot of marathons. So I ended up doing about 5 half marathons, I think, and 1 full marathon. But it was a workout group that met about 2 days a week and on Saturdays, and we just worked out, lift weights, did a lot of running. After that, he led me to K&D Fitness, and I've been working out since then. And at first, it was a struggle working out, running was a struggle. Doing even a mile was impossible. And to say that I've done 26.2 miles, that can only be God. I was diagnosed in the process of working out. I probably was working out a year with CCC Fit after I got diagnosed. And I remember I was in chemotherapy and there was a marathon coming up and Gerline was like, you still got to run. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I still ran that half marathon. And I remember doing that half marathon, I mostly walked the whole thing and throwing up and everything like that. But God just gave me endurance to make it through. And it just taught me endurance. Like working out taught me how to just endure through the pain and to just keep going. I wanted to not let cancer stop me from everything I was doing. I wanted to be like, I didn't want to be known as, okay, the cancer girl couldn't do this. I wanted to be like, this is Eraine. I'm still Eraine, no matter what, cancer or no cancer, this is who I am, and I'm still going to do this marathon. Because I did, I think, 2 prior half marathons. So I remember being in the car that morning. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and Gerline and my sisters are in the car, and they're like stopping every couple of blocks for me to open up the door and throw up. And my sister was like, Guensine was like, "Are you sure? You know, you don't have to do this." And then I remember Gerline saying, "Yes, she does." But and something in me was like, I want to do this because I don't want cancer to stop me from doing this or stop me from doing anything. Honestly, when I look back on it, it probably wasn't the wisest decision to do that at that time because my immune system was so weak. That night, I started getting like chills and a very high fever and things like that because there's about 30,000 people, there at the marathon running, and your immune system is already compromised, and to be around that much people is really bad. So the next morning, I was actually admitted into the hospital with a very high fever, and I had to spend about 5 days in the hospital.
Cancer just changes not just your mind frame, it doesn't just only change your mind frame, your physical appearance, but it also helps you grow closer to, whether it's God, your family, your friends. It gives you a sense of connection where it's like, the C isn't always that bad, even though nobody wants to talk about the C word, but she turned it and made it seem like, this was like an everyday, I guess, struggle, and she was going to do the best she could to get out of it. So I respect her and honor her for the way that she carried herself. So
actually, I guess it is the best thing that happened to her. So yeah, I would have to agree with her, even though that's not the diagnosis. No one would want, but I agree.
Bon Dieu veut montrer grandeur. Mais parce que ouais, comment maladie ça a commencé, tout le monde qui mourit, bon Dieu voulait montrer le grandeur qui ça a fait pour lui.
I think not just for her, but for all of us. I think cancer is the best thing that happened to all of us. Well, to me, cancer happening to Eraine is probably the best thing that happened to me also. Because it changed her, and just seeing how she dealt with that. I think tomorrow, if I was to go to the doctor, and they was to tell me I had cancer, I would be able to handle it so much better just seeing her experience, how she handled it.
So the idea came to me to produce this video of Eraine's testimony. I would say through God. I think God used someone to speak to me in terms of doing the video.
2, 3, 4.
I did hesitate simply because I felt it was a very personal story, and I wasn't sure if she was willing to share. I didn't want her to take any offense or feel like I had a hidden agenda. And so when I did approach her about it, I was met with a lot of hesitation to the point where she didn't really respond. And so, I left it at that. But a few months later, she actually reached out to me again, and she said that she wanted to do it. I think her exact words were, God told her that she has to do this because he got her through it. It's a powerful testimony, and somebody needs to hear it.
I wanted to just bypass that because it brings back so much, hurt and stuff. So I didn't want to say it.
To read it.
Yeah, read it. So, and then I realized, with praying and stuff like that, and with, you almost finishing the video, God kept telling me, you have to tell the whole story.